Coyotes are an American original. They evolved in North America 1 to 2 million years ago in the heart of the Pleistocene epoch. Their world had North American hyenas, dire wolves, and saber-toothed cats, among other predators. They became omnivores and master survivalists in that world, and those adaptations served them well when another predator showed up in North America about 12,000 years ago: us. We coexisted fairly peacefully for most of humanity's history on this continent. In many Native American religions, for example, coyotes were revered as trickster gods. They were responsible for everything from unleashing buffalo onto the Great Plains to providing fire. Euro-Americans shattered that coexistence when they started an all-out war on coyotes. In today's video, I will discuss the first salvo of that war, coyote bounties. We will cover the history, why bounties were misguided, and how much money states wasted on them. Before we continue, please like and subscribe to learn more about North American wildlife history. Bounties have a long history in the United States. The story began in 1630 when the Massachusetts Bay Colony placed a bounty on wolves. Bounties were a tool to incentivize people to kill more animals. Europeans passed their hatred of wolves onto future generations through stories like Little Red Riding Hood. As settlers moved west, they brought diseases, livestock, and a disdain for predators with them. When they encountered coyotes, they confused these animals with wolves. Meriwether Lewis described coyotes as prairie wolves in his journal. The name stuck, and people have associated wolves and coyotes ever since. The earliest record of coyote bounties I could find is in Missouri in 1825. In Kansas, the state government passed the first bounty law in 1877 that applied a $1 bounty to each scalp. The hatred for coyotes was based in part on false assumptions about their diet. Many people believe that coyotes eat larger game or domestic species like deer, cows, etc. that humans rely on. While they do occasionally eat those animals, it has been shown in many studies that coyotes typically eat smaller prey that many humans consider to be pests. A biologist for the National Park Service named Adolph Murie conducted one of these studies in 1940. His study is named Ecology of the Coyotes in the Yellowstone. Murie concluded that coyotes mainly consumed small mammals, birds, and a variety of smaller prey like fish, reptiles, and insects. Basically, they will eat whatever, whenever they can find it. Despite the misunderstanding, states across the western U.S. placed bounties on coyotes in the 19th century. Some states went to extreme lengths to support these bounties. Montana, for example, spent almost 2/3 of its annual budget on wolf and coyote bounty payments between 1883 and 1923. All of these payments were, of course, a waste of money. As we see today, coyotes are still alive and well. They've even expanded their range. The bounties failed to wipe out coyotes, and they wasted money in other ways. I searched newspaper archives across the country and found over 1,000 mentions of people raising or farming coyotes for the bounty. It is easy to see why if we look at an example from Oregon. Sheep ranching was a significant business in Oregon in the 19th century. However, some ranchers argued that they could make more money selling coyote scalps. The Statesman's Journal published an article titled Coyotes versus Sheep on 11/27/1894 that argued sheep ranchers could raise coyotes. At the time, one sheep was worth around $2.50, and the bounty on coyotes was $6 per scalp. Coyotes also have about 4 to 7 pups a year, while sheep have only around 1 or 2. As the writer said, quote, "The arithmetic and logic of the matter are easy," unquote. A similar story unfolded in Kansas. In 1913, Anderson County discovered that they had paid fraudulent bounties for a number of years. According to an article called Coyotes Raised for Scalps in the Chanute Weekly Tribune, on 5/9/1913, a hunter named W.F. Wells discovered that several people were raising coyotes for the scalps. These people captured a breeding pair of coyotes and kept them. The article mentions that a Sunday school superintendent raised the coyotes for years and made $50 in about 5 years. A neighbor got fed up with this and stole the coyotes before the superintendent could turn them in. The neighbor collected the $1 bounty. Another example from Kansas comes in May of 1903 when the Wellington Journal reported that a dozen or more farmers organized the, quote, Society for the Prevention of the Destruction of Female Coyotes, or SPDFC for short. Their goal was to protect female coyotes as breeding stock. The writer claimed that the larger than normal number of bounties being turned in led to, quote, a general suspicion that the bounty business is being worked for all it is worth in this county. Females were rarely turned in, and 9 out of every 10 were young coyotes. The article is scientifically inaccurate, however, because it claims females can have several litters of pups a year. Female coyotes only have 1 litter, and they typically give birth to 4 to 7 pups, generally born in April or May. The number of pups depends on how much food is available in the local coyote population. Fewer coyotes in an area means that more food is available and more pups are born. Notice when that article was published, late spring. It is easy to see how someone would suspect foul play when the majority of animals turned in were young pups in May or June. But another likely scenario is hunters found and killed dens when the mothers weren't around. People across the country were suspicious, but we shouldn't assume that raising coyotes was common. It is possible people simply didn't believe coyotes could continue to thrive under that hunting pressure and made up excuses for their failure to exterminate them. Bounties were the start of America's war on coyotes. In a future video, I will discuss the federal government's role in the slaughter. Ultimately, that was a failure as well. Even today, the United States Department of Agriculture estimates that 50,000 coyotes are killed every year. They keep expanding, and despite our best attempts over the last couple of hundred years, are still thriving. That is where the power of adapting to an ever-changing landscape helps them. The strategies they employed to live with North American hyenas, dire wolves, and saber-toothed cats serve them just as well living with us. Thank you for watching.